It might be tempting to call Wolfgang Van Halen a nepo baby, but he didn't get to where he is just because of his famous name, and his path has been filled with heartbreak. The 20th century rock and roll lifestyle was anything but conducive to raising a family. Nevertheless, in 1981, at the height of his career, hard-partying Eddie Van Halen tied the knot with actress Valerie Bertinelli.
People think that someone in my business or whatever wouldn't want to settle down and have a wife, and have kids. I'd love to have kids.
A decade later, the couple welcomed their only child, Wolfgang, into the world. But the couple split in 2002 when Wolfgang was just 11, as a result of Eddie's drug use and extramarital affairs. Bertinelli later told Oprah, "Ed and I weren't treating each other like two people that loved each other, and that's what Wolfie was seeing." The split affected young Wolfgang, but his father also struggled with the separation.
"We gotta clean up above the garage and build a little studio for you and me."
In an appearance on Behind the Music, Wolfgang claimed that his father's manner became darker after his divorce, and that the heartbreak worsened his addiction. Nevertheless, the family eventually worked it out. Eddie and Bertinelli were present at each other's second weddings, and Wolfgang and his mom remained very close. Wolfgang was still just a teenager when he joined Van Halen full-time. Despite his musical talent, the promotion to band member had to involve a steep learning curve, and not just when it came to musicianship. Being in a band with your rock star father is hard to begin with, but the teenage bassist also found himself at the center of his father's addiction to drugs and alcohol.
Wolf had an influence on Ed that nobody did. It was beautiful.
In an interview on the I Never Thought It Would Happen podcast, Wolfgang shared, "Growing up witnessing and being around it, I was a bit naive to the severity of it, until I became of age to really understand around my early teens and being around his struggles when I joined Van Halen."
In 2007, it's like there was nothing there. It's like the pupils were black and there was nothing behind it.
He believes that he was his father's support system, helping Eddie overcome the pre-show anxiety that made him want to drink.
I think me being there kept him grounded, for the most part.
Wolfgang explained, "Addiction is a disease, and it's a very awful one, and it really had a strong hold on him, but he got through it, and I was very proud of the way he got out of it." Eddie Van Halen was such a force of nature that for his millions of fans, it seemed he might go on performing forever. But in the 2010s, Eddie's health began to fail. In 2017, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, which was likely exacerbated by his many years of smoking. Eddie's doctors gave him 6 weeks to live.
It's not easy to see someone you look up to as a pillar of strength and have to be that pillar of strength yourself.
When he got the grim news, Eddie had been putting together a long-awaited Van Halen reunion tour, which was to include former band members Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth. Those plans had to be shelved after Eddie got sick.
Yeah, that was real, and we were so excited about it, all of us. It just didn't pan out.
And as for Wolfgang, he put his musical career on hold so he could take care of his dad. Although Eddie managed to live 3 years longer than the doctors predicted, he died on October 6, 2020 at the age of 65. Despite his grief, Wolfgang has returned to making music, telling people, "What really helps me keep going is my dad, because if I just gave up and stopped and crawled in a hole, which I feel like doing every day, I know he'd be really pissed off at me." Eddie's death was met by an outpouring of grief from rock and roll fans. News outlets noted the guitarist's incredible contribution to the genre and his place in history as one of the finest guitarists and most influential rock practitioners of all time. After news of his death broke, legends like Ozzy Osbourne, Nikki Sixx, and Kiss's Paul Stanley took to social media to pay tribute to their friend and colleague.
You only have 12 notes. Do what you want with them.
But not everyone treated Eddie's death with the respect it deserved. In 2022, the cable network Reels announced that Eddie was to be the focus of a new episode of Autopsy, The Last Hours Of. Family members spoke out, objecting to the show as exploitative and in bad taste. Wolfgang took to X, posting, "F***ing disgusting trying to glamorize someone's death from cancer. Pathetic and heartless." Shortly after Eddie's death, Wolfgang released a song with his new band, Mammoth WVH, called Distance. The music video was made with home footage of Eddie during Wolfgang's early years. It was a huge hit with Van Halen fans who were still reeling from their hero's death. It was also a successful jumping-off point for Wolfgang's music career outside of his father's shadow. Since then, Mammoth WVH has released 2 hit studio albums and become a popular live act among rock fans. In 2023, the band opened for Metallica. Of course, many listeners attending Mammoth WVH concerts for the first time might expect him to play the music of Van Halen. After all, he was a member of the band for 14 years. But Wolfgang says he has no interest in playing the group's songs, as his father is no longer around to play with him. Fortunately, he's got major songwriting chops of his own. He explained to Today, I think when it comes to paying tribute to my father, me just existing and playing music every day and writing music is a tribute enough. But it was nice to have that moment where I could play Van Halen's music.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you.
Wolfgang points to the sky at least once during each gig as a tribute to his dad.